And welcome back, everybody. We are live for another episode of the Payoff Pitch. We are just over 1 week away from the start of the Major League Baseball season. I'm excited. Drew, what about you?
Oh man, baseball can't come fast enough. I'm ready.
I'm excited, man. Once again, this is the Payoff Pitch, sponsored by Durham Remodeling and Ryan Allison Tattoos. Make sure you guys check them all out. If you guys haven't followed Ryan Allison Tattoo by now, go take a look at his stuff. That is some of the most amazing artwork I have probably ever seen. He posts like new sleeve tattoos he does like every day, and I honestly, I don't even want to know how much those things cost, because those are some of like the nicest tattoos I've probably ever seen in my life.
Oh, dude, just take my money.
Yeah, I know. That's the worst part about living in New York, because every time he posts something, I gotta be like, damn, if I want a tattoo from him, I gotta take like a 5-hour flight out to Iowa and get that done. But we're here. We are coming to a close on the spring training season. Everyone's finishing up their last couple games. They're sending their players down to the minor league rosters. We have the Korea series coming up in a couple of days. With spring training ending, who's impressed you so far this spring? Give me a couple of the guys that you think have made a statement this year.
Well, as a position group, I think that the shortstops so far look pretty good. Three of the top five in hits so far are shortstops. You got Blaze Alexander, Bo Bichette, and of course Mookie Betts has 15 and 10 runs scored. Then you've got Braden Shoemake with the White Sox. Has started out strong. He's got 6 stolen bases in limited action. You got O'Neal Cruz is tied for the league lead with 5 home runs, and he's got 10 runs scored. And then there's the guys that you and I talked about, previously. Not unexpected. You've got Spencer Strider with 22 strikeouts and a 0 ERA in 14 innings. You got Shota Imanaga with the Cubs, has 19 strikeouts. And then you've got Seiya Suzuki has really started strong, also with the Cubs. In 10 games, he's batting .440. He's 11 for 25, and he's got 3 doubles and 3 home runs. So some really strong performers there.
Yeah, I think we're definitely seeing an era of, and like obviously Mookie gets put in that category with shortstops, just because he was kind of just put there this year, but his defense has really gotten better as spring trainings went along at shortstop. I think that's helped him. I think he's due for a big season. O'Neal Cruz is always one I'm high on. My only problem with him is I just wish that the Pirates would move him to first base. I get it. He's got that big arm. You want to put him at, he's always played shortstop, but you have like three or four of your top prospects are middle infielders, and you have a 6'7" guy that's a lefty that you could easily just put at first base and fill in that gap that you desperately need a first baseman, because right now you have Rowdy Tellez. And obviously, I would rather take the man you saw in our intro, Ji-Hwan Bae, over O'Neal, or over Rowdy Tellez in that lineup. There is one name I'm actually surprised you didn't say, just because you called it earlier this year. He had a rough start, his last one, but Chris Sale has really impressed me with the way he's played. Now, obviously, a veteran coming in, it's not like this is his first spring training, not like he's coming off a bad season, but to come into, I feel like a lot of players, when they come into the Brave system, it's either you choke or you strive. And he really, like the first 2 starts, he looked like the Cy Young winner that he was. Like, he didn't look like, injury prone, end of his career kind of player.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think there's a reason that people are so big on statistics, and people there's whole industries around just talking about baseball stats. When you look at a guy with a sample size, as big as his, the numbers on the back of his baseball card are going to hold up pretty often. I know he's been injured the last couple of years, but if he's healthy, he's one of the best pitchers in baseball. So I think we're seeing that, and I hope that continues.
Yeah, absolutely. There's another pitcher in that Brave system. I'm really interested to see what they're going to do with him, mainly because of like just the position I think they're wanting to place him in. As I feel like it's more of for this year at least, it's more of a put pressure on a guy. But Reynaldo Lopez looked really good for them in spring training, and they've kind of talked about moving him as a hybrid pitcher. So the second half of a double header, or Elder's not feeling good, or Strider has a blister on his finger, so we'll put Lopez in. But he's went 3-4 innings at a time. He had a 3-inning hitless game when against the Red Sox a couple days ago in spring training. Is he someone you look at that kind of can fill that last roster spot that they've always talked about the Braves? There's always that number 5 spot that kind of like last 2 years has kind of just been in rotation.
I hope so. That's for me. That's one of the few question marks on this Braves team is that 5th starter spot. I think most of us expected Bryce Elder to be that guy, but he's really struggled. And so I think you're going to see a few different guys that kind of get a shot at that 5th starter role. So you've got obviously Lopez, you got AJ Smith-Jobber, you got Darius Vines, you've got Bryce Elder will probably get another crack at it. He was an all-star last year, so maybe he'll have a bounce back. But I think you're going to see all those guys get some time at that spot. Maybe even having a 6th starter occasionally just to give some other guys rest, like Max Fried.
Yeah, and I think the thing that worries me with Elder, and I'll get more into him because he is on my list of impressed or disappoints, is just because it's the same thing across all of baseball. If you have a pitcher who is not a strikeout pitcher, he's not a junk ball pitcher, he's just I'm gonna make you hit a ground ball and get yourself out with my all-star level infield. It's great, but when it's not working, he's getting blown out. It's the same thing where we saw pitchers last year that were, pop fly pitchers. It's great to be a pop fly pitcher, but if your stuff's not working, that ball's going 500 feet.
Well, it's funny, and you should ask your dad about this game that he and I went to against the Nationals a couple years ago. When I really first got to see Bryce Elder in person, was we were there for ring night. They were giving out the replica rings at the stadium at Truist Park, and I think your dad and I were sitting, 3 rows up from the first base line. And I mean, he just got shelled. I think we lost by like 11 runs in that game to a terrible Washington team. And, I remember thinking to myself, I don't know if this guy's going to make it in the big leagues. And he really proved me wrong last year until he just fell off a cliff. So I don't know. When it's not working, it's really bad. There's no middle ground. He's either getting ground balls and double plays or he's getting shelled.
I think the big thing with him is you get a pitcher like that who had an all-star year, was arguably, if Spencer Strider was not an Atlanta Brave, arguably Bryce Elder was the number 1 guy last year for them. And definitely, especially coming right after Strider in the rotation, give you a completely different look and how you had to approach it. But it's someone who it's hard to send them down, because what the upside is, but it's one of those where maybe a doubt, like a half a season, like from here to July, just putting him in the minor leagues and just saying, hey, we're going to bring you up, but we want you to work on this for the next 3 months could help him. But nonetheless, we'll get to the rest of our list here. Other than Reynaldo Lopez, I had 2. One is kind of an obvious one, and one is a prospect I really like. Juan Soto obviously has had possibly one of the best spring training seasons in the last 10 years. I mean, you see it when you watch as much as, sorry, Dad, I was watching a Yankees game. But when he goes up to bat, everyone's standing. They're watching him like all the pitcher. Garrett Cole was saying, I just stand and watch because it's just amazing the way he approaches it, how he hits the ball. And he's been smoking the shit out of it too. So he's definitely, primed to have an MVP level year. The big thing is can you build the roster around him to stay healthy?
I mean, they've really struggled with injuries over the last couple of years. I don't know how much building they can do. I mean, it's the Yankees, so I mean they're used to being in the luxury tax, but they're right up against it already. And with Garrett Cole's injury, and we'll get to that more later. I'm curious to see where they go to address the short-term needs.
Yeah, and then there's one guy who, as much as I'm worried to see him when he gets to the pros because he is in the Braves division, James Woods or James Wood, whichever it was, I can't remember off the top of my head, on the Nats. looked really well. I mean, when you look at him, you have a guy who he's kind of projected to steal around, if he played a full 162 game season, about 30 bases, hit about 20 to 30 home runs, and he's a 6'7" center fielder. So he's got height, he's got length, and I mean, obviously the downside is you're going to see a lot of strikeouts with a power hitting speed guy at that height because he has a huge strike zone. But he played really well in the games they gave him some time. He played really good in the breakout game the other day. I don't see him getting called up before July, but he obviously is primed to be, I don't want to say the next Juan Soto, but he's primed to be the centerpiece of that Nationals roster in the next year or two.
Well, they're going to be really bad for a couple of years, but they've got a lot of prospects because they've been bad for the last couple of years. I mean, they traded the farm away for prospects and hit a hard reset after they won the championship. So,
yeah, and he was the prospect they got hit for Soto. He was the number one prospect in that trade that they really wanted. So they're really high on him. I could see him coming up this year. I think they might wait and give him another, because this was his first time being brought up on spring training. And it also just gives you another year where you don't have to, you can kind of build a little bit of a better roster so you don't waste a year on his contract.
Was there anybody else that you were impressed with in spring training?
Not that wasn't on your list, really. I know O'Neal Cruz. I'm not going to beat the dead horse again and talk about the Royals, because I don't know why that team has just stuck out to me this year. But, I mean, Cole Reagans did well. Pasquantino did well. I saw a lot of the guys that I was able to watch. I think Jackson Holiday didn't do too bad for, being, 19 years old and potentially getting called up this year. I thought the way that the Orioles kind of played and the Mariners kind of played as a whole kind of just shows, watch out, we're coming. Mariners obviously had a down year and they had to do a lot to stay under salary cap and out of luxury tax, but they played really well as a team. I think if Haniger stays healthy, they're going to be a definite threat. And I mean, just going with the Orioles, I think the Orioles are this team that's just in a position to dominate, and it's solely just going to be because of injuries and other situations that put them as a top team.
Well, they're projected to have the third best record in baseball, so I don't think that's, a surprise though. I mean, the Braves, you got the Braves and the Dodgers obviously are the two ahead of them in terms of projected record. And they aren't exactly, overly impressing in spring training in terms of record, but I think they have different objectives. I think they're just trying to build out their depth. So,
yeah. And I think the big thing too, I saw, I think Buster Olney was actually the one that mentioned this. At some point, they're going to have to the Orioles are going to have to go into win now mode, even though they have everyone locked up for a decent amount of time. I feel like they're going to hit a scenario like the Braves hit when they won the World Series. And I'm not saying they're going to be exactly like that. I'm not saying they're going to win it like the Braves did, because obviously the Braves had one of the hottest streaks of all time and just absolutely dominated the last 2 months. But you have your top two of your top three prospects right now is a shortstop, a second baseman, and you just called up your former number one prospect, and that's a third baseman, shortstop, and second baseman. And 5 of your top 20 prospects that are projected to be called up within the next year and a half are all in the same position. And the other 5 in the top 10 are outfielders, and you have 3 guys in Mullins, Santander, and Hayes who are pretty much locks at the position. You're not going to risk them. So at what point if you're the Orioles, do you start looking at, hey, let's trade our 5th best prospect and get 2 good bullpen guys? We need, we need someone to give Grayson Rodriguez competition for that last spot in the rotation. Let's bring in, a star pitcher from like the Rockies. Or let's say someone has like a God mode year from the Rockies, or like, what do they say if like, hey, Logan Gilbert's just not working out for the Mariners, but we could definitely make him work in our rotation. Let's trade away 2 prospects and get Logan Gilbert. Like, at what point do they start stopping the stockpiling and start selling?
I think this is the year. I think we see it. I don't think it'll happen in season. I think they'll be in a position to make a run in the postseason, and if that doesn't happen, then we might see it in the off season or sometime towards the trade deadline next year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're going to be really interesting to watch, not just because of how fun and good they are, and like I said, fun to watch, good players. But what is the GM going to do behind the scenes to get this team over that hump?
I don't see them being a team that goes into the luxury tax. You know, I know that they did just have an ownership change, so maybe that's different now, but they're not a traditionally big spending market. So,
no, yeah. But
I think most of the pieces that we see now are going to be what they're going with long term. Like you said, they followed the Braves model and they locked everybody up. So, barring injuries, I think this team's pretty set for now.
Absolutely. And before we go on to our next segment, cut to break, who do you have that just disappointed you? I know we have a couple people. We'll try to keep this one short, but who's been you had high hopes for them and they struggled, or who just when you watched them, it just looked ugly? Players for spring training.
So obviously we share the same last name, Emerson Hancock with Seattle. He's a Georgia guy. He was a top prospect, number 6 overall pick in the 2020 draft out of the University of Georgia. And he's in 3 games, he's really struggled this spring training. I mean, he's 0-1. He's in 5 and 2/3 innings. He's given up 11 hits and 10 runs. So obviously it's a small sample size, but I think I expected a little bit more from him, especially given how he looked in A-ball last year. He was pretty solid. I think he went 11-5. So
yeah. And I think with him too, I think they were just kind of treating him this year as we don't think he'll be called up, but let's see what he can do when we consistently put him against like top level players.
I think he made 5 appearances last year, so something.
Yeah,
like that.
I think he's still in that bracket of like we'll call him up, kind of like Smith Shawver and Vines were last year, except I think he's a little bit better than Vines. Where it's just hey, we have a doubleheader today. We're going to call you up so we don't waste an arm. Or, hey, Castillo's out for a week, so we're going to have you do 2 spot starts for us. Like, I think it's just one of those where right now they're just going to kind of get him a little experience and say, okay, well, this is what you were doing, so let's clearly work on that, and then send him back down for a bit.
And then there's another one that I think is probably the most glaring for us as Braves fans is Jarred Kelenic is absolutely struggling right now. He plays, and it's not a small sample size this spring training either. He's compared to some of these other guys. I mean, he's played in 14 games. He's had 39 at bats, but he's batting 0.77. For context, he struck out 10 times in 39 at bats and has 3 hits. And then when you contrast that with the guys that he's battling with for that left field position, Forrest Wall is absolutely tearing the cover off the ball. He's hitting, I think, 433 or something like that. And he's got 6 home runs. And then you've got, or 3 home runs, excuse me. But then you've also got Eli White has looked really solid in left field. And then on top of that, the Braves just re-signed Adam Duvall for a $3 million deal. So, you might see him in left field. That's, obviously it's early. He's got time, but I think he needs to really put some time in with the hitting coach because it's not where it needs to be. It's not what we expected when we traded for him. I know it was kind of I think I said on our last episode that, I expected to see Forrest and Eli platooning with Jarred, but the way things are going, Jarred may just get sent down. I mean,
yeah, I think he's a bit of a project. I've kind of known that for a bit, because like I always like to rebuild bad teams, and I was like tried to do the Mariners but the thing is with Kelenic is he cannot hit lefties, and I see this in the way of they kind of just hoped it would work out that, hey, maybe this guy who is essentially younger version of Eddie Rosario when it comes to going lefty, maybe he'll pan out. And I think that's something they're working on with him. But I think the Duvall signing is going to help him a lot because not only is it going to help kind of teach him with another veteran, because outside of him, I mean, Acuna is the longest tenured Brave in the outfield. And I wouldn't even put him at vet. I mean, obviously he's not a rookie, but I wouldn't put him at veteran status yet.
No,
But
Adam Duvall is a great locker room guy. That's a good take.
and not only that, but Adam Duvall hits well. I think they're gonna have to platoon them this year. I think we're gonna like kind of what we saw at the end of last year when when they would need Rosario to get days off, and they would just say, "Oh, it's a lefty today, so we're not even gonna worry about it. Just take him out of the lineup." I think we could see a little bit of that this year, where if it's like a big game, like a division rival, a league rival, like if they're playing the Dodgers and it's Kershaw, I think they take him out of the lineup and they put Duvall in. Or even if they're playing the Marlins and they got Luzardo up, I think they just take him out. I don't think he's there hitting lefties yet. I don't know if he will be there, but I always say I don't judge a player until the second year of their contract or their second year with the team, because we see it in basketball, we see it in football all the time, where the guys they have a rough first year because they're having to adjust to everything. And then the second year they go off. And it's one of those that he's going from a different team to a team that has had a philosophy that has essentially been run since early 2000s, because Snitker was under Bobby Cox. He was in the minor league systems. He knows how this team has kind of run the program historically. And I think this is a good time for him to kind of adjust to a new team and a new program and a new way of how the game is played. And it's just going to take him some time. So we kind of saw it with some players where like their first year on a team after the COVID year, because everything was so weird, they struggled. And then the next year they went off. But then again, we also said Ozuna last year was going to be terrible because he had a bad spring training and he started the year off slow and he hit over 30 home runs.
I agree to a point. I mean, I'm hoping this is just one of those extended stretches where he's just absolutely can't hit. And then, like what we saw from Michael Harris last year. And then, he ended the season, I think, like 294 or something. So obviously it leveled out once he figured out where his mechanics needed working. But I don't know. I don't know. I mean, we're in win now mode. So like, I know we have a great lineup outside of Kelenic, but I don't know that we can afford to have a dead spot in the batting order compared to a team like the Dodgers.
Yeah, and that's where I think like I think their goal was to, hey, if we can get him to hit lefties, he's going to be a problem. And that's true. If he can hit lefties the way he hits righties, he's going to be very scary to watch. Obviously not like MVP level, but we could see an Ozuna type season with like 25 plus home runs and a good amount of RBIs. But I just think it's gonna take a year to adjust. So I'm gonna play the patient game with him. My disappointed guy is also a Brave. You mentioned him earlier, Bryce Elder. I think again it was one of those players that he's gonna stay on the opening day roster. He's gonna be in the rotation because when he's on, the ceiling is that high. But he just hasn't done it this year. He struggled in spring training. He, like I said, when his stuff is not working, it's the same as Strider. When his stuff's not working, he's getting smoked. And you can't afford to have Strider have an off day, get smoked, and then you go to Elder and he also has a bad day and get smoked, and you get smoked back to back from two of your top 5 pitchers. I think Lopez was a good challenger to add in. I just don't see him as a starter, like unless they do like an opener strategy and he goes 3 innings. But every team he's played on the last 2 years, he's gotten better and better. So like I said, I'm big on Lopez. I think this is one of those years with Elder that they just see if he's going to be worth the money, if he's got what he's really got, or if last year was just a fluke.
No, I agree. I mean, as long as he's a Brave, I'm going to be there standing behind him, but I need to see more.
Yeah, we could see a Gossman situation where he has like a decent year with us, struggles the next, and then they send him to another team and he's a Cy Young candidate. But yeah, that'll be it for impressed and disappointed. We're going to take a quick break real quick and we'll come back. We're going to talk the Yankees. We're going to talk Trevor Bauer. So stay tuned.
Durham Remodeling has been serving the Quad Cities area since 1973. And with over 50 years of excellence on their track record, you'll see why it's so easy to trust their experts when it comes to all of your home improvement projects. This family-owned business has you covered on all your needs. Protect your home or building from the elements today and get great roof repair services. Need new windows? No problem. Durham Remodeling can upgrade your windows and doors. Whether you want to upgrade the little details in your home or office, or want to tear a room down and start fresh, the expert contractors at Durham Remodeling have your back. Even the smallest changes can completely transform your space. Ready to start entertaining your friends for backyard barbecues? Durham Remodeling will help you plan, design, and build your deck and patio for the perfect outdoor space. Durham Remodeling's work is 100% guaranteed, so you can rest assured that you're getting the best service around. Call 309-786-6715 today for your free estimate for all your roofing, siding, flooring, windows, and painting needs. That's Durham Remodeling, 309-786-6715.
My name's Ryan Allison. I've spent over a decade immersed in the art of tattooing. Sharply honing my skills has materialized into a diverse and prestigious body of work. Each tattoo reflects my relentless pursuit of excellence, and every client I work with is a living embodiment of that unwavering commitment. I will gladly and wholeheartedly embrace your distinct vision.
Alrighty, welcome back. So the big one that everyone's been kind of talking about, it's a cold world. Garrett Cole out the first 2 months. A lot of people are saying best case scenario, he comes back and has an off year. Worst case, he's got Tommy John because this is an elbow injury. How does this, like the Yankees World Series odds, obviously every time they get someone new, they jump to the top of the list. How does this hurt their chances in this tough division?
So I think I read somewhere that Nestor Cortez is now their opening day starter, or projected to be their opening day starter. I don't know if it's been announced yet, but
It was, yeah.
okay. So their rotation, I don't know, leaves a lot to be desired. Even when he's in there, I'll be honest, I'm not super impressed with their rotation. They've got a bunch of guys who are on the wrong side of 30. And then there's Nestor Cortez. I mean, they're not even going to win their division. And without Garrett Cole, I think they're going to really start off the season rough. He did go to see on Thursday. He went to see the same doctor that did this procedure on Ronald Acuna's knee over in California, Dr. Neil Elatrese. So I think right now they just announced that he's not throwing at all for the next 3 to 4 weeks. So then they're going to reassess and see where he is. But the indication early on is that he won't need Tommy John. But obviously, it's all speculation until he actually gets throwing and they see where the level of comfort is after a few weeks off. So in terms of the World Series odd, I mean, obviously it doesn't help. If he ends up having to have Tommy John, he's probably out the year and maybe part of next year. I mean, they're right up against the luxury tax already. I know that if Garrett Cole is out, where would they make a move? Do you see them being maybe a suitor for Trevor Bauer?
I don't know. It's time. It's like we said, it's time for this rotation to step up. You take out Cole right now. Their rotation is Cortez, who had a rough year, and this is kind of his prove it year to prove that he wasn't just a flash in the pan. You have Rodon, who is, like I said, this is one of the reasons why I said, give them a year in their contract before you judge, because you remember Garrett Cole's first year there, he was really bad, god awful, and then Rodon was absolute dog shit last year. Living in New York, the amount of Yankees fans I know, I would come into work with a smile on my face and they would just cuss me out because of that. You got Stroman, who I think anytime he goes on the mound, Steinbrenner's going to roll around in his grave, seeing a Yankee come out with a silky on his head while he's and a chain on while he's pitching. But then you have Clark Schmidt, Luke Weaver, and
Do you
Petit.
think they bring back Luis Severino?
I don't think so, because they already lost Herman to the Pirates. So there's one, but I think they kind of do what they did last year when Rodon was out. They have 4 pitchers, and then they kind of just rotate like the 5th guy, except their guy that was the 5th guy they traded for Juan Soto, and Johnny Brito. But Luke Weaver isn't the best, but he's all right for your inner rotation. But that's the thing is, you're going against arguably one of the best divisions with hitters, because at least multiple times a year you have to face a Rosarena, you have to face Rutschman, Mullins, Mountcastle, Guerrero, Bechet, Devers. You could argue and say Jalen or Jaron Duran. Like you have hitters on hitters on hitters on hitters on hitters. This is not the division for you to be trying to figure out. The Braves got away with it because we had to play the Marlins and the Nationals 10 times a year. And we could say, all right, you know what? We'll throw Darius Vines out there. We'll throw someone to throw 3 innings, and then as soon as we pull him off the mound, we'll ship him right back to Gwinnett. Like that's. But at what point, and as I was kind of researching this for my notes, at what point do you start saying the Yankees are cursed? It's every year it seems some star player signs or has a record-breaking season and then gets hurt. Judge broke his foot or his toe after the year after he broke a home run record and did not play 90%, or like not 90, but like a good percentage of the year. Garrett Cole wins Cy Young. He's now out for 2 months. Peraza had a good spring training. He's now hurt, is going to miss up to 6 weeks. Rodon signed a big contract. He struggled. And as we said, Garrett Cole signed a big contract. He struggled. What point someone's always getting hurt, or someone that they have high hopes, and you could argue the pressure of like playing in New York, because let's be real, New York is like one of the worst places to play for baseball because they will shit on you constantly and often. You could have just helped an old lady out of a burning house fire, but the minute you give up a pitch down the middle and it's a home run, even though you're up 20-1, you're a bum and they hate your guts. At what point do you start saying that they might have a curse on them, like a luxury tax curse almost? Hold
on. We can't skip over what you just said. Did you just make a Spider-Man reference?
I did make a Spider-Man reference. Thank you.
I mean, it's hard for me to call an organization cursed that has as many world championships as they do. I think it's 27, and it's
not getting to 28.
And I kind of get where you're coming from, and I do agree to somewhat. It might be somewhat of a self-fulfilling prophecy. I mean, there's a lot of pressure playing in that huge media market. It's maybe the same thing that happens to the Knicks players, and I'm probably going to get crapped on for that. But, I think at least the way that I've always perceived the Yankees is, at least, in the modern day Yankees, is because they're big spenders and they're always big spenders. What they'll do is they'll go out and get guys who have had established success, but a lot of times what ends up happening is they're already over the hill. And they aren't known for developing. They don't work in the same model as, say, the Braves, who go out and develop people. They go out and buy people who are already established, like your Garrett Coles and your Giancarlo Stantons of the world, right? Your Juan Sotos.
And my thing with them is always just like, you're putting up, obviously Rodon's a different story. Garrett Cole's a different story because those guys were in their prime. I would say Rodon's still in his prime. Because I'm going to use that method of he just had a rough year. But at what point do teams start realize the Yankees put up $50 million for this guy and no one else offered him anywhere near $5 million?
You need $50 million to live in New York, so.
Yeah, so we can get a nice 1-bedroom apartment in the Bronx.
Yeah.
But at what point do they start realizing hey, we just offered this guy $10 million more than the next team. There's a reason they're not offering him this money.
Well, I think it's a couple of reasons. One, I think you're hinting at that maybe they're just overpaying people, which is probably true. But that other teams just can't match. So there is that part. There's only a handful of teams that can match the pockets the Yankees have. One of them is the Mets, but when people don't work out with the Mets, they'll go to the Yankees. Look at Stroman, for example. They didn't exactly welcome him there.
I can't wait for that, like, that first game. Like, I hope he pitches the Subway Series, like, in Citi Field.
Oh, I hope he takes a huge crap on the Mets.
I pray for that because I will buy the standing room tickets. I don't care how much they cost. I just want to hear like the boos, and then like if they get smoked, all the cheering, or if they play great, all the like the hate and the anger that comes out, because it always comes at me whenever I'm wearing my Braves gear there. So I'm gonna just go there and I'm just gonna enjoy it. But moving on from that, because we don't got as much time, I think. So Trevor Bauer is the big name. Obviously, there's now a lot of team. He's saying he's willing to play for league minimum. He's said, "I do not care about the money. I just want a chance." I have my opinion. If you'll indulge me, let me go on first on this one. It's not his pitching ability that's the reason people are not signing him. Yeah, like everyone says, oh, he's being blackballed because of the domestic violence case, whether it truly was like made up and got dismissed and he actually never did anything, or he did, whether or not. Obviously, the league policy is the minute someone gets arrested for domestic violence, as brutal as it was claimed, they void their contracts, they cut them, all that. But my thing is with Trevor Bauer is he is too much of a clubhouse cancer. I know, like, teammates, and not even in a way of like with the clubhouse, because there's so many teammates that say how good of a person he is and how great of a teammate he is. But for a solid 3 years, the only stories I would see on Trevor Bauer were Trevor Bauer gets pulled and he throws the ball into the fountain in center field. Trevor Bauer said he's not going to sign with this team no matter how much money they offer because a fan was mean to him one time. And like, you remember the whole when he was in free agency and he was, oh, I'm not going to play for you guys. Like, or no, like someone would be like, come play for the Braves. He's like, you guys were mean to me last time I played you, so I'm never going to play for you guys. Like stupid shit like that. Like the whole, like talking while you're a free agent and you're trying to show teams why you're worth the money you're wanting. You constantly are just telling everybody, I'm not going to play for you. I'm not going to play for you, to fans on Twitter. Not like he spoke this in private to ownership and said, I do not want to play for you guys. He was just telling fans, I'll never play for you guys. Like, and then he signs like it was like a 1-year deal, I think, with LA, because no one was willing to offer him a contract he wanted, because there's so much of this, like, I don't want to compare them because it's obviously a different scenario, but like where teams didn't want to take a risk on Antonio Brown.
Yep, I was just
because it's like, yeah, he's gonna give you, he's not gonna put up MVP level numbers, Cy Young level numbers. He's gonna give you a lot of great outings, but is it worth all the PR you have to back up and be prepared for in case he does something stupid? Like what happens if he signs with, let's say the Braves. Let's say he signs with the Braves and he throws like a bad 2 innings and he gets through the 3rd inning decently, and then it's a situation where he wants to pitch it, but it's not, and he starts breaking shit. He's going to get cut, or he's going to get sent down, or he's going to be suspended. And then everyone's going to say, oh, Trevor Bauer is just being Trevor Bauer again. So yeah, he's arguably a great pitcher. You could question he had a great outing against the Dodgers minor leaguers, which, as not being played in the MLB in a couple years, it's still good.
There were no MLB scouts at that game.
That's the thing. They said, yeah, he pitched good against the Dodgers, and then when you read into it, it was their minor league spring training. It wasn't like he was going up against Shohei, Mookie, Freddie. He was going against their team of the players who didn't even make the MLB spring training roster. So I would hope the guy who's pitched for 10 years in the pros would be able to pitch good against them.
So if I'm not mistaken, that game was played at the spring training facility of the Dodgers, was it not?
Yep.
Do you think they were even aware of that?
I'm really curious, because that's the thing. That would have been a huge story. Trevor Bauer pitches. I didn't hear about it till it got posted on Twitter. Trevor Bauer pitched 1 2/3 inning against the Dodgers minor league spring training team and shut them out. Okay, cool. He pitched against a bunch of AA guys and struck them out. I would hope an MLB level player would be able to strike them out.
So
Go ahead.
Here's my thing about Trevor Bauer is he just. You mentioned Antonio Brown. I was thinking about Antonio Brown, and I was thinking about Odell Beckham Jr., for example. It's like that, there's no question that the talent is there. It's the other stuff. They just don't get it. I mean, Bauer's 33 years old, something like that. 33 years old. His anger problems and his off the field issues predate his 2020 Cy Young season with the Reds. It's well documented. Now, whether those sexual encounters were just violent because that's what he likes, or I wasn't there, I don't know what happened. It's obviously been adjudicated. But when your sexual proclivities off the field are a bigger story than your performance on the field, that's a problem for any organization to have to deal with. And so I don't think people like the Braves you and I talked about it off camera. I don't think there's any chance he would have come to the Braves. That's when you start seeing Braves fans are going to throw trash on the field if that happens.
And the thing is the team that has the highest odds to take him right now is the Mets. I don't want to know what that's going to look like in arguably the most toxic sports environment in the world. You can say whatever you want. You see bad fans everywhere. People who have not lived in New York, Boston, or Philly don't understand what I'm talking about, but the people who do, that have a soul still when it comes to sports that are not involving their team, understand this is not the place to play when you're having major off-court issues. Look at Kyrie. He missed a game for his sister, and he got sent out.
So this is going to be me being a total hater, and I'll just embrace it for a second, if you will. What if he went to the Astros?
Oh, that'd be great.
That'd be a great story.
You know what? If he went to the Astros and Dusty Baker was still there, I could handle that, because
I think Dusty Baker would slap him.
Because Dusty Baker would, the minute he acted out, Dusty Baker would just send him to AAA and say, if you don't like it, demand a release.
Dusty Baker is in that Bobby Cox, Brian Snicker mold, right? He doesn't put up with bullshit from anybody.
There's too many situations. The teams that need him, or that need a pitcher, you have two teams that are in arguably the worst environment. And it's like, and in my mind, you're only getting him for PR. Mm-hmm. At that point, because if you're going to go after Bauer, why wouldn't you just go after Lorenzen? Why wouldn't you go after who Lorenzen Art is? If you put their best seasons side by side, Bauer is a better player, but Lorenzen is steady and has no problems in the media. You could go after Jordan Montgomery, who they had in New York, and they sent him out, and arguably had a decent year last year, and is kind of projected to have a good year. You have the only other teams that really need pitching you got that are able to have the cap space. Arizona's where he started. There's a reason they got rid of him. They understand why. So no doubt, everything I've read and seen, he's a great person when it comes to teammates, but it's that one moment of weakness where he does something super stupid. And if he goes to a New York, if he goes to an LA, if he goes anywhere that's a big market where the minute you do something wrong, they shred you to death. The minute he does anything, he's done. He accidentally he trips and knocks the water cooler over. Oh, Bauer had a bad game and he's punching stuff. He yells at a teammate because he was frustrated. Oh, Bauer barking at, it's going to all start coming out again. And it's like, as much as it's not his skill and a blackballing, it's his actions when he's had bad games, when he's had frustrating moments, where instead of just waiting till later, waiting till off camera, he does stuff middle of the game. Think about it. He threw a ball into Kauffman Stadium's fountain because he got pulled because he was getting smacked. And they traded him the next day because of it. And they took almost nothing for it because they just wanted to get him out of there.
So here's the thing. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. Right now I'm actually...
Because I've been rambling for 20 minutes.
I just pulled up his statement that he made on January 4th of this year regarding the allegations and the next steps in his career. It's a long statement, so I'm not going to go too in depth here. But when I say he doesn't get it, He's saying, well, this was settled, blah, 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 blah. I won't have casual sexual relationships anymore. It's like, dude, that's not the issue here. The issue here is that this is an ongoing pattern of behavior.
And it's not even about the allegation.
And he said, and he literally said, I made a lot of people, this is a direct quote. It said, I also made a lot of people in the media mad, end quote. I was very immature with how I handled things when people would write things about me I didn't agree with. I should have just had a private adult conversation with someone. I was bullied a lot as a kid. I don't really want to get into that, but it's like, dude, it's just excuses. Just say, at this point, don't say anything. There's no point. Just if you get a shot, you get a shot. You got to show that you've changed. Nobody's going to believe you anymore. You can't say anything that's going to change.
And that's my whole point. Is just just
get past it.
Not even the I'm making excuses. I'm making excuses. It's the I'm trying not to repeat myself, but it's literally just the history of doing stupid stuff, acting without thinking. I know my parents are watching this not with a smirk on their face because they've been telling me this for 24 years. But it's the stupid little things. It's not he's not good in a clubhouse. Because at this point, he's not really a clubhouse cancer. He's a management cancer. Because everyone in the clubhouse could think you're the best dude in the world. But if you're doing so much stupid stuff that the GM, the social media team, the PR team have to work triples overtime to try to figure
you almost have to assign somebody to babysit him.
Exactly. You have to
you have to hire somebody for that.
If you have a player where you're like, okay, we know about this, the media doesn't, so we need to get prepared. You don't know what's going to happen with him. Because you could be like, okay, he's been calm, and then randomly he could just he got pulled, so he bashed Dave Roberts' car in. This is for me. This is in the same vein as parenting my kid, right? It's she's 4 years old, so she could be doing great, but then she gets bored, and all of a sudden you stop watching for a second, and she's drawing on the wall with a Sharpie. That's Trevor Bauer in a nutshell. I'm saving this so I could show this to Luna when she's 9 or 10. And
yeah,
she gets right on that. She gets right to that edge of where she starts to dislike her parents, and I'm going to show her this video just to piss you off.
Thank you. That's fine. That's fine. Before we move on, she can help me repaint that portion of the wall. It's fine. We'll get there. But I want to move on actually to Blake Snell a little bit.
Let's hit the break real quick, and then we'll go over Blake Snell and last free agent predictions right after the break.
Sounds good.
Football season may be over, but for frequency's sake, still has you covered for all your sporting needs. Tune in every Sunday when the best professional wrestling podcast around, Cards Subject to Change, gets you caught up on everything inside the ropes. They won't miss a count with weekly analysis and interviews. More into auto racing? We've got a double dose for you on the track. Tune in to Fast Money with Rod Villagomez each week and win some money with the quickest bets in all of sports. Want more insight from Pit Row? Check out the Green, White, and Checkered podcast where they give their insight on everything happening on and off the track. Need your basketball fix? Points in the Paint has you covered with live shows every other week looking at everything in the association. Backed by popular demand, we have the return of the Payoff Pitch, FFSQC's baseball show, covering you on news around the MLB. If you're missing football, don't fret. Mark and Dan still have you covered in the football lounge. Missing Joe Winkle? Probably not, but he's still here talking sports on Educated Ignorance. Football season might be over, but we've still got you covered. For frequency's sake, you know what we mean.
For frequency's sake is brought to you by Durham Remodeling, serving the Quad City area's remodeling and repair needs since 1973. Clint's Draft House, grab a bite and a pint. 7th Street Moline. Lopez, New York-style pizza served up by the slice or pie, Davenport. Lifted Energy, energy drinks, coffee, donuts, and more. #GetLifted. Atomic Sports Cards and Collectibles. Sports cards and memorabilia, vintage clothing, hats, pennants, and more. Ryan Allison Tattoo. Step into the vibrant world of tattoos with Ryan Allison. And A Cut Above, offering quality custom woodwork designed specifically around our customers.
DJ, we're going to have to talk about that photo for the Payoff Pitch. Everyone got a nice logo, and we just got me glaring at Drew. That's a...
Yeah, it's accurate.
That was the funniest shit. We also got it, DJ, please put the Golden Ticket Show on there. I'm tired of doing it every day for nothing. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, make sure you guys check out all our other shows. We're getting a lot of great content out there every single day. Before we even get into the Blake Snell stuff, March Madness is upon us. We may be doing a bracket challenge. We're talking that over tonight. But we are getting a bunch of stuff done for March Madness. We're gonna have some. I have some Cinderella picks. I've done all my research this year. I have watched almost every game. I have literally done like hours and hours and hours and hours on research and got it down to the 3 teams I really like. 4, depending on if one team makes it or not. 4 Cinderella stories that I absolutely love. So make sure you guys tune in as we go over the content. But back to baseball. Blake Snell, Scott Boras has done it again, the son of a bitch, and ruined another baseball season by demanding a bunch of money. Where is Snell going, Drew?
Oh man, Scott Boras is brilliant, but not if you're a front office. But he's brilliant for his clients. Everybody except Freddie Freeman, apparently. But anyway, so I think he's going to the Astros. They're the heavy favorite right now. So here's where the numbers are. According to an article I was reading about an hour ago, the latest update was that they were seeking a 2-year, $66 million deal with an opt-out after the 2024 season. So basically, they were just going to give all this money guaranteed to him, and he could choose whether or not he wanted to stay after this year. And so the Astros reportedly are concerned about getting into the luxury tax, and that would put them there. And so they're hoping that the price tag goes down, but they're up against it. Verlander's not going to be available for opening day. Urquidy is out, McCullers is out, and Luis Garcia is out. So they may not have a choice. They may just have to pay the piper just to stay in contention in that division.
Nah, I think I don't want to see him there because then I'm kind of over the whole Astros cheating thing at this point because let's be real, they're fucking good.
They are good.
They're always good.
They're a well-run organization.
They're what the Dodgers always try to be. That's the best way I could put it. Like I feel like they're the team that's just like, hey, we got all the stars, but we can't put it together. I saw that too. I don't mind it. The 2 that I saw that I really like for him to go to, one of them just because I won't have to deal with him in the playoffs. So is the Angels.
That would just be a money move, though.
Yeah, if you'll excuse my dog's freaking out in the background here. The Angels offer that I saw was a couple of years, but it had an opt-out after every year. So with all the pitchers this year, he could potentially get a better deal next year, do like a prove-it year, like we saw like a lot of pitchers have done. So, you're looking at, have 1 year with the Angels, go through the woes of what the Angels are every single year, and then opt out, get a better deal next year. God damn. The other one is San Francisco. I think they're probably the favorites and I think they're the ones that are going to get him if the Astros don't. They're not playing around this year. Obviously, they tried their best to have like one of the best off seasons in MLB history last year. Because imagine if they had gotten Correa and Judge. I mean, obviously, but like gotten some kind of superstar. But I think they have what it takes this year to get him. I think they need another star pitcher because their offense is what their offense is what it's always going to be. But imagine that team when they have, if their first 3 guys in the rotation is Alex Cobb, Logan Webb, Blake Snell.
That'd be disgusting.
That is deadly. That is scary to see, and I really like it, and I really want to see it because it gives a little bit more interest to the NL West instead of just let's wait for the Dodgers to win 100 games so we could talk about how great they are.
Could you imagine those pitching duels of Blake Snell versus Zach Gallen?
Not even that. Blake Snell versus Yamamoto. Next year, if he signs more than 1 year, Blake Snell versus Ohtani. Blake Snell versus Herman Marquette. No, I'm kidding. But
we're talking about good pitchers here, okay?
Not even that. Like, just imagine Blake Snell versus, Strider at least once. Like if he stays in the NL, there's so much better pitching matchups. I think
that would make that division even tougher than the NL East at that point. I
The
think
hardest,
I think it
the
already
hardest
is, but
thing for is it's like, do you sign with the Astros and you go over a winning franchise for a chance to win a ring, or do you sign for the money? And you could sign somewhere like San Francisco where you're in arguably one of the toughest divisions, because then you have to play the Padres and the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks, versus where the AL West is still tough, but you have a little bit of an easier playoff route in the AL than the NL.
you think there's any chance that he goes back to the Padres?
I don't think so. I think they're kind of fully on. I don't even think they offered him a contract, because I just think they knew he wasn't going to sign. I think they knew what they were getting with him.
So
I think the Yankees are the one. Yankees
Manny-
are the one team that everyone wants him to go to, but I don't think the Yankees are going to offer him because they give Scott Boras too much leverage.
So Manny Machado signed for the money in San Diego and is just going to waste his career there.
Nah, I mean, listen, man, if I'm making like 20-30 million a year for the next 10 years guaranteed to play baseball, and my team is competitive, but we're not, we might play for the playoffs, we might not, I'd live with that. I mean, me personally, I'm lazy as hell. So like, if you get that Rendon contract where it's like, I'll play majority of the season, you're going to pay me 20 million. And I'll just tell you, I don't feel like playing.
Oh man, that's a whole other conversation, that Rendon situation.
Yeah. But final prediction, because we're running out of time here. Where's Snell going? And we got a couple other free agents. We got Montgomery, and like Lorenzen,
JD Martinez.
Where do you see those guys going? Let's do Martinez, Snell, and Montgomery. Where are they going?
I could see Montgomery going back to the Yankees. Actually, I could see that. Especially if this Garrett Cole situation ends up being worse than it looks like it is right now. If he ends up getting the Tommy John surgery, I could see him going back there. JD Martinez. I'm not really sure what to think about that. I heard him linked about going back to Boston, but I don't think that would really help them. I think they have too many other glaring needs. I think he's going to go sign with a contender that needs a bat.
I was thinking about that with Montgomery. Like, you could sign a 1-year deal again and just be trade bait this year. You know what I mean? Like, the Red Sox get a couple prospects out of you, and trade you like back to the Dodgers or like to the Diamondbacks. I don't think he goes to the Diamondbacks, because then you put him and Jock Peterson in the same position of, I can only hit against one type of player, and if I'm not hitting it out of the park, I'm striking out.
You think you could? I mean, that's the thing. Martinez he's projected at $15.45 million AAV. I mean,
there's
so
one team
who's going to spend $15.5 million on something.
There's one team I would love to see him go to, and I know it's not going to happen, and I don't want to say it because I've been talking about this team for like 3 months every day, and I'm tired of them. But the Royals, I think he would be really good there as a trade bait. If not, you could platoon him with Renfroe in right field, because I do not want to see MJ Melendez touch the field until he learns how to catch a ball. So because of that, I would just rather see. I want to see. I think the Mariners would be a great fit for him, but I think they're not willingly going to pay that much money and go over taxes, especially after they traded away 2 or 3 pieces to make sure they stayed under the luxury tax.
What about Chicago, the Cubs?
Now their outfield's it maybe is a DH.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Just as an extra bat.
I think that would be good, because you have in your outfield, you have Bellinger, Suzuki, and Happ in the outfield. And from what I remember, I think he does really good at Wrigley. Let me double check that. But no, I don't mind that. I think NL Central teams all are, solid, or like potentially solid for him. That's just the one thing to look at, though, is it actually he's good, or is it just he happened to have like hit a hot streak when they played there? But I don't know. I think Jordan Montgomery, I think Yankees is where I'm going for that. I think him and Stroman as a 3, if everyone's healthy and plays at their top level, as a 3 and a 4, him and Stroman are great together. You could even arguably put them as not the best, but a decent 2-3 in your lineup behind Nestor Cortez, Wall, Rodon, and Kohler out. But that's the big thing for me is Obviously, Rodon is not fully going to be prepared for this season if they're already saying Nestor Cortez is opening day and they're going to kind of run with him as the starter, number one rotation guy. Right now, that definitely all worries me. But if I'm a Yankees fan, which I'm not, so it's great. I'll go with the Cubs there. I think the Cubs or the Reds. I just don't think the Reds are going to spend money.
No. I mean, they're in a prime position to contend too in the division, but they don't spend any money.
My thought on the Reds actually yesterday was kind of like they're what the Orioles were when they first started the rebuild, or not, but like what the Orioles were like a couple years ago, but without the media attention. Because you look at it, they have like 10, 12 guys who are legitimate studs and can help run that division, but you just never hear anything about it because they're in the NL Central, and no one really pays attention to the NL Central except for the fans of that division.
And you, so,
yeah, and well, DJ will tell me I'm fired if I don't pay attention to the Cardinals. So, and Doug's a Cubs fan too, so that's even better. So I want to get them both on here next week and just have them argue about the NL Central. But that'll be it for us today. We thank you guys all for watching and following along with us. Next Sunday, we are going to be doing a big pre-opening day celebration show. Opening day is on I think it's the 28th. I don't know days anymore. Yeah, the 28th. Look at that. I'm a god. But we're going to be doing a big show. We're going to be breaking down our predictions for each division. We're going to be breaking down who our predictions for who's going to win awards, and we're gonna have a breakdown. We're gonna bring in some of our other baseball experts, and we're just gonna talk all the divisions. Try to touch every team at least once. So thank you guys all for watching. Drew, any final words?
I got to give a shout out to my Falcons and Kirk Cousins. Welcome to Atlanta.
Yeah, one playoff win, right? Anyway.
Hey, let him do his thing, man. And go
God, if he wore all those chains and stuff in Minnesota, I don't want to know what's gonna look like when they take him to Magic City after a win.
They don't sell them at Kohl's, do they?
No chains at Kohl's. But thank you all for watching. Make sure you guys stay tuned. Make sure you guys go follow us over Gotham Gambling on Twitter, and go follow us over on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you have it, whatever social medias are not getting shut down this week. For frequency's sake, with March Madness coming up, we are posting content all week. We're going to have a show later on tonight. Me and my BFF for life, Joe Winkle, he told me I had to say that, are going to be doing a live breakdown and reaction to Selection Sunday. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. That's going to go live about 6 p.m., I think, depending on what time the Big Ten tournament ends. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. Thank you all for watching. Y'all have a great night or day or whatever it is.